Howdy, this is Lemmy with RevZilla TV, here to talk to you today about the Vance and Hines line of exhaust for Harley touring bikes. If you have a Harley touring bike and you are considering an exhaust upgrade, there is no doubt you have probably considered Vance and Hines. It would be impossible to ignore them in terms of exhaust because they are one of the staple brands in the exhaust world. So you're probably wondering, what's in it for me? What can Vance and Hines do for my bike? There's two benefits I'm pretty sure every single Harley rider is going to get, and they're very basic. These things look fantastic, as you can tell from the monster squares sitting in front of me, and also the power duals here. These things are just great looking. Both the shape and the lines of them, the way they flow with your bike, as well as the fit and finish on them is fantastic. However, the big thing, I think, is the sound. If you've ever been there when one of these things rips by you. Now, Vance and Hines is making these to fit a pretty wide swath of bikes. You're talking touring bikes from 95 on up to present, including California bikes. If you've got a California bike and you have catalytic mufflers, Vance and Hines even has a carb-compliant exhaust you can put onto your bike, no questions asked. That's kind of a nice feature, I feel like. Also, for you trike guys, Vance and Hines sells a Trike Adapter Kit. That Trike Adapter Kit lets you use any Harley product that Vance and Hines is making for touring bikes and flip it right onto your trike, no questions asked, with just the addition of a simple and inexpensive adapter kit. I think that's really great. A lot of the exhaust manufacturers kind of leave the trike guys high and dry. You're sort of out in the cold and you have to figure out how to make this stuff work in your bike. That's not the case with Vance and Hines. Installation of these is not very hard. You're looking at somewhere between 1 and 2 beards on our 3-beard scale. 1 beard sort of would apply to a slip-on system. They're a little easier to install and there's not so much extra work that has to happen to get these on your bike to make them go, whereas a full exhaust system is going to require a little more work to get them onto the bike, but then also some additional steps to make sure that they're really going to be tuned in, dialed in on your bike, working in a way that's going to produce a little power for you. So we had talked about benefits at the beginning of this video. We mentioned just 2, and I think that they do definitely ring true for most riders. They are going to look great. They are going to sound great. However, there's 2 additional benefits. For those of you who are considering a full system, the benefit you're going to see is a definite bump up in your output. The bike is going to breathe a little better out of the exhaust tract, and as such, you're going to see a little more horsepower. Using that in conjunction with some other things like a fuel controller and a high flow air filter is going to make your bike perform even better. This is truly one of those situations where the sum of the parts winds up being greater than any one of them individually. The other benefit I see too is the fact that Vance and Hines offers these systems and they're modular in nature. Now, when I say modular, that means you can sort of buy bits and pieces and you can upgrade them as you go. Rather than, say, starting with a nice set of slip-on mufflers and having to jettison them later for a full system exhaust, as some manufacturers have you do, Vance and Hines doesn't do that. They make sure that all of their slip-on mufflers for touring bikes play nicely with the head pipes. So you can start kind of small and work your way up as your aftermarket parts budget increases. So I know sometimes it can be a lot of money to plunk down for a full exhaust, and some of the other things required to do to your bike for a full exhaust, like that fuel controller, can really put quite a big dent in your wallet. You don't have to have that dent with a Vance and Hines system. You can start small, work your way up. I think that's a feature and benefit that really makes them stand out in a sea of competitors. Let's get into construction and what makes Vance and Hines so important. Vance and Hines is a staple brand, but how did they get that way? I think the very first thing we can discuss is that these are high quality pipes. They're crafted really nicely. The fit and finish is fantastic on them. They chrome every single pipe you see, regardless of whether you're getting a chrome or a black system. The chrome does a great job of protecting the steel underneath. When you see a black exhaust, that's just in the heat shield. And the heat shield, I think, is also the secret to their success. So Vance and Hines is the progenitor of the 222-degree heat shield. You may be wondering what that means. 220 degrees is the radius. That's the coverage that these heat shields get over the pipes. So when you're looking at a beautiful Vance and Hines exhaust, typically you're not actually seeing the exhaust. You're seeing the heat shields. And the reason the heat shields are effective, I'm sure you have seen some guy rolling down the road and he's got single wall pipes on his bike. And they're gold and blue up near the heads, they have road dirt and crap baked onto them, and they look awful. Well, it doesn't happen because of these heat shields on a Vance and Hines system. These do a couple things for you. Firstly, they do hide any gold and bluing that happens. That just happens naturally on an exhaust. It's one of those things that's gonna occur. However, these heat shields make sure that your exhaust doesn't show to the world. Now, the heat shields stay looking nice because, as you can see, they attach with clamps and brackets onto your pipes. What that does is leaves an air gap between your pipe and your heat shield itself. So in addition to keeping the pipe much cooler so things don't burn onto them, it also keeps you and your passenger a little safer. These do get warm, but it's much harder to get a really severe burn from a heat shield than it is from the pipe because of that air gap that sits between the pipe and the heat shield. One of the other things I think is really great about it too, I'm not sure if you guys are like me, but whenever I have rain gear, I seem to have it flap into my pipes, and if I don't have a set of nice heat shields over my pipes, I wind up cooking it to my exhaust. I also have a passenger who's fairly careless, and she gets her boots all over my pipes. Rather than having to scrub and scrub and scrub, I never even notice it. Some other construction techniques I think that Vance and Hines uses are really cool that you maybe might not read so much about are their acoustic engineers. They acoustically engineer each of their exhausts. They actually have studios, sound studios, to make sure that what you're getting sounds great. So you can be assured that even if you've never heard a Vance and Hines exhaust system, but you like the way it looks, if you order it for your bike, it's gonna sound great. They're just really pleasant, mellow, deep sounding exhausts. I really like the way they sound. They include brackets for all of their pipes. I love their bracketry. It's cut really clean, the holes are all drilled fantastically, everything fits up perfectly, and this is nice heavy steel. I just really like the way they put these things together. They also weld their pipes fantastically. They use MIG on all their pipes except they're stainless, those are TIG welded, and the welds look good. As you can see here, some of those welds are right underneath here. They're solidly welded. What you're looking at here is their power chamber. So some of their pipes, especially on their header pipes, have this power chamber technology. And what that allows is each cylinder to help the other cylinder do its work. So as one cylinder is firing, the power chamber allows the other cylinder's exhausts charge to help pull air and fuel into the other cylinder. And what that effectively winds up doing is shoving more air and fuel into your cylinder. It fills it, gives it a little more volume, and what you experience is a little seat of the pants power. It winds up making the bike work better. It's a really great technique, and because of their heat shields, it doesn't have to look hideously ugly. We really dig that. So you might be wondering at this point, how do I know which one I need? There's a wide variety of Vance and Hines products. I don't even know what to do. So first thing you want to do if you're on our site, start with the bike finder. Put your bike in. We're going to show you the stuff that's going to fit your bike exactly. You're not going to have a big hassle or install. It's just going to fit on the bike. It's going to be an easy installation for you, and it's going to make your bike perform well because it's designed for your bike. There's really two basic classes of Vance and Hines products. You've got the mufflers only system. You can see this real cool monster squared I've got here. It's a great looking exhaust. It adds a little bit of bark, and it's going to improve the way your bike looks and sounds. You can see behind me, I have a set of high output mufflers on our Street Glide. As soon as we put these things on, the bike just, it idled nice and smooth. It has sort of a commanding, authoritative tone. It's really a nice upgrade. For those of you who want your bike to sound like a Harley, this is typically your first step. Now there's probably some of you out there who say, yep, but I also need a little bit more oomph. I need my bike to get up and go in a hurry. You folks should be considering either a full system or a headers and mufflers combo. Now, as we talked about earlier, that modularity is kind of nifty. You can choose whatever type of head pipe you like, whether it be something with a crossover in it, or if you want to maintain a true duals look. Vance and Hines has got something, and no matter what muffler style you like the look of, they will play nicely together. I think that's a huge benefit, and for those of you who might be a little bit strapped, you don't have to buy everything at once. You can start with the mufflers, and then know that later on you're going to upgrade to a particular set of head pipes to go with that exhaust. I think that's probably the easiest way to determine what it is that you need. Figure out where you are, what you need from your bike, and know that you can grow into a little more performance if you wind up needing it at some point. So installation, as we touched on earlier, is somewhere between 1 and 2 beards worth of difficulty on our 3 beard scale. Slip-on mufflers, like the ones we threw on the Street Glide, really are not that difficult. You're going to need to remove your saddlebags, you're going to unbolt your factory mufflers, you're going to sort of loosely get your heat shields in place on your new Vance and Hines mufflers, kind of fit everything up loosely, make sure everything's looking good, snug everything down, and then you're pretty much set to fly. It's pretty easy. I have the benefit of experience, but still, I was able to throw these mufflers on our bike in about 25 minutes. So I think under an hour would be a safe bet for even those of you who are all thumbs. Now, if you're considering a full system, you have a little more work to do. Firstly, there's just more pipe to deal with. You have to think about the fact that you're going to be installing twice as many heat shields. It takes a little longer to get everything kind of lined out and in place before you can start buckling everything down. There's also the matter of oxygen sensors. If you have a fuel-injected bike, you are going to have to do something with your oxygen sensors. Sometimes extracting them on older exhaust can be a little bit tricky. It's not impossible, but it does add a little bit of time to the job. The other thing that makes a full system just a little bit harder installation-wise, you really are not going to want to do just a full exhaust. In order to take advantage of what that exhaust can do for you, you're going to want to add at least a fuel controller and potentially a high-flow air cleaner too. You guys have heard me say it a million times before, Harleys come out of the factory just ridiculously lean, and installing a better flowing exhaust unfortunately exacerbates that problem. So you're definitely going to want to have a fuel controller to go with your new exhaust. Now you've fixed the fueling, you've fixed the exhaust, you're also going to probably want to fix things at the opposite end of the spectrum where your engine actually is sucking air in. A high-flow air filter really helps here. So it's one of those things where you might look a little bit beyond just the cost of the exhaust system because there's a few other things you need to do to make everything kind of jive together and play nicely. So that's what earns it the two-beard level of installation. It just has some other things that go with it and sort of extend the time a little bit, and you might be in the garage for a little bit of an afternoon. Now, I really like Vance and Hines systems. I run them on several of my bikes. I probably will continue to do so. My opinion, however, is not the only one that matters. Click below, see what some of your fellow riders have to say about their Vance and Hines systems. If you have questions beyond that, we can help you. See us at RevZilla.com will get you a Gear Geek, or you can always call us, 877-792-9455. I'm Lemmy, I'm out of here.